going to take the next 10 minutes to give you a little bit of an update of what we are doing and will be doing at Ventspils nafta terminals. Just for starters, on the company overview, the terminal itself, not much has changed. We're still on 105 hectares, 1.2 million cubes of storage capacity, 105 tanks, more than 2,000 valves, 122 pumps. I think what you need to take away is, currently we haven't done many investments, but what we're trying to do is clean up our portfolio a little bit. That means everything that we replaced over the recent years, we are kind of demolishing to create possible room for further development, in the future. As to the people, I'd like to emphasize that our people are the best. I think, in the last 5 years, without their effort, it would have been impossible to be where we are today. They give their best, every single day, given the dynamics of the market. We are now at 263 full-time employees. We operate, obviously, around the clock, 24/7. We changed our operations from 4 shifts to 5 shifts last year. There's a single board member, which is myself, but, at the end of the day, we run our company by a management team of 6. A little bit, as to activities last year. From a volume point of view, we managed to achieve a little bit more than 10 million tons last year, which is about 10% more than before. That's kind of a good average over the last 4 years. We're dancing around the 10 million, give a little bit more, give a little bit less. That makes us, the leading terminal in the Ventspils city and the harbor, but also in Latvia. What we started last year is the beginning of truck loading operations. We have that facility in the terminal, but it has been hibernating for the last 10 plus years. So we upgraded that. It is now back in operation, and we started, loading trucks in the 3rd quarter last year. We have optimized the company further. Obviously, we have come a long way from reducing employees, which is a result of increasing the efficiency inside the company. We are now at 263, as I mentioned. That's another about 30 less than from a year before. These are all, like I said, consequences of, multifunctionality, increasing flexibility, outsourcing, and these kind of things. And obviously, we try to separate from people, when it happens, in a socially responsible way, with people, early retiring and things like that. We have finally changed our operation system, which we have employed for the last 20 years, which was Crowder, to a new system called Gemini, which now spreads across the entire operation. It's highly efficient, covers all areas, and really, is another, big step in making, the whole automation of the terminal, much more easier, and all information flow much quicker. The last time we met, which was about 15 months ago, I said I shall not be here, without telling you we're going to build, or have built, or agreed on a vapor recovery system. Where we are right now, we've completed the engineering to 90%. Obviously, what you need to remember, we don't have direct access to the water, so we are not, ultimately in charge of our own destiny. That means we need to find agreements. If we would have full control, it would have been built already many years ago. The engineering side is one question, but obviously, having, a long-term, view on how we're going to operate there, because for us this is strategic. Takes a little bit longer, but I think, I hope in the next, couple of 3 months we're going to finalize this and, hopefully then go into physical implementation. That is, of course, coupled with the aspect of, stenches that, the handling of petroleum products sometimes causes, but it's also good practice in the industry. We have not invested into anything significant over the last year. The last investments were utilization, pump station, facilities for unloading of then Venezuelan crude to be arriving in the terminal. That has, since then, nothing happened. Obviously, we have a little bit of challenge of, working with investments because, we have obligations towards the community. That makes permits a little bit more difficult these days. As I said, in the point before, I hope we will overcome this in the coming days. Investments are crucial. we are an old terminal. I think we are in very good, technical shape, but in the future, also to engage into new activities, investments are absolutely needed. Continuous community support. I think it's, goes without saying in our case. It's yet, important to stress that it's not, normal. Obviously, in order to do that, we need to be, sufficient in running our operations. We need to make money, in short. With social partners, social community, sports clubs, as well as students. I think we have done quite a bit last year in order to, engage with people in Ventspils, but also beyond, and we try to do this also, going forward. We have done certain, we have participated in certain activities, obviously starting with the sustainability index last year. I'd like to say that we don't do this because we are collectors of awards. It's also good for benchmarking us to see where we stand as a company, as to, practices around. We jump from bronze, silver to gold. I think it's fantastic. We shall see where we end up this year if we decide to participate again. We participate in the Golden Helmet competition organized by the State Labor Inspection, and claimed third place. Also, a lot of work done, and I think it shows, the good things that are happening in the company. And just last Thursday, I think it was, we've been awarded, via CV Online, as being the best employer in the Kosovo region, which, honestly, I wasn't even aware it was, being happening, but that the voting kind of is also a good indication that, our image as an employer is good, which is satisfying that, with all the activities that we're doing the right things. A little bit on the financials. It's stable, and therefore it's maybe a little bit, boring or non-exciting. I mean, we're kind of delivering the same stable results over the recent years. Therefore, if you look at revenue, EBITDA, net profit, net income, it pretty much remains on the same level as in the previous year. About 40 million euro for the reloading revenue, EBITDA at 19.2, and net income around 12. There are pressures in the market, more than in the previous years. There's not, always a good answer to compensate for them. So what we need to do is look at ourselves internally and see how we can improve our cost structure. That has been like this for the last 5 years, and it will continue, going forward. The outlook. Obviously, geopolitically, there are some challenges around us these days, so it makes predictions a little bit more difficult, as to where we're heading. I think if you look at the transshipment volumes which we can achieve in 2015, it's not quite certain, but we at least aim, to meet the levels of the previous years. So let's say it's somewhere around 10 million metric tons. As I said, marketing yourself and achieving, good income rates is one thing, and becomes a little bit more difficult these days. So internal improvement and optimization remains, pretty high on the agenda for us this year and also, the years to come. And we have quite a lot of initiatives which we are, working on, and therefore it's going to be a pretty full and busy year. And I think, remaining, or keeping a certain status quo, or even thinking about growth without doing something, which you are in control of, is pretty much impossible. If you go a little bit forward, what's our strategy? Strategy obviously is what we directly control. As I mentioned, processes, efficiency, multifunctionality, cost reduction, these kind of things, will continue. We're quite good at that. We've done that, for many years. So I'm pretty confident that, even though we have achieved quite a bit, there's still good potential, and that's what we, have identified. The asset flexibility is another one. Markets are quite dynamic. It's the flexibility of the asset itself that determines, whether you have, potential to grow in the future. With a 50-year-old terminal, obviously there are certain, limitations, but over the years we have done quite some modifications, adjustments. Truck loading, as I mentioned before, was one of them. And there are, further initiatives to make sure that we can diversify, our portfolio that we can offer to customers in the future. And I think last but not least is an important one. we need to make sure that we're not working as a single entity, but obviously there's an interest should be also by the Latvian state at all, to promote the development of individual businesses. That doesn't really only relate to us as Ventspils nafta terminals, and really work in partnership to identify future opportunities to enable or at least secure the current business, but also enable growth in the future. Especially in these times where things are a little bit more harder to project in the future. That is, in a nutshell, what I wanted to go through.